We're live on YouTube, and after I hit this button, okay, soon we're gonna be live on Facebook as well. And hello, and welcome to all my friends from the Learn Power BI program who are on the phone with me. Welcome to another episode of Talk Power BI. This has been quite a week for me. So, by the way, if you are here for the first time, make sure to click subscribe on YouTube and click the bell so you're notified whenever I go live to answer your Power BI questions. And yeah, this one is simple. I don't have a PowerPoint, I don't have any agenda. The quality of this call is the questions you ask. So let's see who is on the phone with me from all the Learn Power BI family. Okay, the first one says waiting for name. All right, so punch in your name. Eric is here. Hello, Eric. Heather. Lunga Majoli, help me say your name right. How do you say your name? And welcome to the family, by the way. Can we hear you?
It's Lunga, it's right like that.
Lunga, did I say it right?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Lunga, yes, it's right like that.
Awesome. So Lunga, you know what? Let me say hi to others, and I do want to come back and talk to you. Michael is here. So is Roberto. Steve is here. Awesome, guys. That's terrific. Let's see. Looks good. And let me say my hellos on YouTube. We have Guy Johnson. Hello and welcome. Familiar face around the channel. Always love to see you here, Guy. And we have Plenty Heroes. Sorry, I probably messed that up, but hello from Brazil. Jen Nabel is here. Good to see you there. Denise just joined on the phone. Karanjit and Rajendra are here as well. Awesome, guys. All right, terrific. So Lunga, let me start with you. So tell me a bit about yourself. What brought you to the Learn Power BI program?
Well, my name is Lunga.
All right. Go ahead.
Man, I'm based in South Africa. I work for the energy company called Eskom.
Okay.
And in my space, I'm in the contracts management space, where I deal with contracts management and in particular with the reporting and oversight. So I was more interested in putting out some interesting reports, and I found that Power BI would be the tool for me to do that.
All right.
Yeah, that's just basically the reason why yes.
That's great. Nobody here is gonna fault you for that decision. I think it's a pretty amazing tool. Terrific. So if you're new to this, the way it works is we usually take the first question from our students on the phone, then I go to the YouTube and take one from the audience. So folks on the phone, and I know Lunga, you have a question, so feel free to jump in. Let's go on the phones first. Who does anybody have a question here? All right, so Lunga, let me continue with you. So I know you were you had some challenges with setting up the relationships. Is that something which you can discuss on this call, or you know, sometimes? Well, tell me a little bit about it. Tell me a little bit of the challenge you're struggling with.
All right. What I've done, I wanted to have a single view of whatever it is that I wanted to report on.
Okay.
Just to give a bit of a sort of some kind of a background.
Yeah.
I want to be able to report on the contract status, and I have a table that deals with the list of contracts that I have, and then I also have another table that lists all the vendors or the suppliers that I have on my list.
All
and
right.
I also have to perform some contract reviews. So in that, I have a table for that. And then also the other table that I have is a table where I'm looking for disputes, something we call a dispute adjudication. So if, for example, a particular contractor, or let me call it a supplier, a particular contractor, we have a dispute with that. So I need to be able to view how many disputes we have with that contract, what is the status of that dispute, or something like that.
Got it.
And then I also have and I also have another table that looks at which is the last table that looks at what we call the engineering panel. What that engineering panel does is more like a list of consultants that also do certain work from time to time. So you want to see how much have we spent with a particular supplier or a vendor, and we also have what we call we have grouped it into a panel A, a panel B, or a panel C. So you want to see the ownership, how much have we spent with the black-owned company, how much we have spent with a women-owned company or something like that. So, but I want to see all that view instead of creating a number of dashboards or different dashboards and reporting. I want it to be on one Power BI desktop. So the challenge that I have then is for me to be able to have relationships. I tried, and I can tell you, Avi, I really struggle.
Yeah. All right, let's see if we can tackle it for you. How to get a single consolidated view of all your data. Okay. So I'll say that so it's woven in the course as well, but for you so on the channel we'll talk about it actually, but later for more background, the data modeling playlist on here would be useful. So let me see. Got it. Give me so sometimes, and gosh, I've done this for a long time. So sometimes, people have sensitive data. They're like, hey, I don't want to share my company data on a call on YouTube, right? So you can definitely share the relationship view. We often do that. That lets me look at things. So let's see. Would it be possible for you to, if I make you presenter, would it be possible for you to share that, or you can take a screenshot, send that to me in email or something? Which would be easier for you right now?
I would like to share my relationship view, but I'm not sure how you'll be able to see it. Are you able to see it when I just open it this way?
Hold on, we'll fix that. Okay, go ahead. It should pop up something on your side asking to share a screen. And again, we're live on YouTube, so I can't edit anything. Just make sure you share the right screen. And if you are really concerned, then what I do is I just take a screenshot, stick it in Paint. That way I can't mess it up. I can't click on anything. And okay, cool. So perfect. So I see the view. That's great. Let me grab control from you. So if you've gone through any of my content, I am, until I arrange it a certain way, I can't make any sense of things. So if it asks you to give control, just click that. Let's see if it's working. Is it working? I'm not sure. I think it is working. Okay, cool. So let's see. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty messed up. So I was hoping that you could be able to structure it in a way.
Yeah, let's see. Okay, so vendor details is up top. Task order. So what I'll say is this kind of your first Power BI project that you're working on?
Yes, it is. Yeah, okay. It is.
Okay. So my friend, do you know how to eat an elephant?
Bit by bit, piece by piece.
Exactly. Yeah, and my kids taught me that. So a bite at a time.
Okay.
And yeah, so instead of trying to build everything, I'm a huge fan of just building a really small piece, but getting it to a point where it's like up and running, you know. So I will advise that, but we'll see how much sense. Oh, okay. So it's just a relationship table. Oh, okay. Let me move it there. Let me move this guy here. Oh. Okay, I kind of see it. Where? What is the DAB register? Okay. So yeah, I really think kind of a step-by-step approach would help. Okay. All right, yeah, I'm not sure how much I'll be able to do right now with your model. So I'm going to grab back presenter and maybe see if I can guide you at least. So if we go here, insert. So how did you first hear about Power BI? Just curious.
How did I hear about it? Now you're asking a question.
Yeah.
I think I was just playing around. I was just playing around to see all the other reporting tools, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's something that it's something that I just found on the net. Yeah.
Okay, got it. All right. So again, I would definitely recommend kind of going step at a time, but the general approach will be, and it is all kind of in the course and in the videos I pointed out, is that let's first identify kind of the process that we're trying to measure, and I'm not clear about that yet. So you have vendor details, got a task order, resources. So if you're reporting about contract, what's in the contract review database? Contract, let's say contract review. It feels like that is a process. So a contract goes through a series of steps, right? It has a life cycle, I would imagine. Is that right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, there will be this, there will be the start and the end date of the contract.
Okay.
But within the contract review, there are some I would want to call them guidelines that we look at.
Okay.
Or some kind of a checklist to see if the contract is compliant, and then we are able to say, have you done this? Is this in place, or are you complying with this particular area? And then that review is done, and then there's a score there, or there's a rating of 1 to 5 or 1 to 4.
Yeah.
In between that, there's those questions that one must answer.
Got it. And tell me about your company again. I think you mentioned that it's spaced out. What does your company do?
It's the energy company. It's the utility.
Yes,
we produce electricity.
All right, perfect. And these contracts are with suppliers.
Sorry, Avi. Let me just step out a bit. I just want to connect. Yeah, I just want to connect my power supply. My battery is about to go dead now.
Got it. Okay. All right, so my friends, while we're coming back, take your time. I'm just going to work through this. Contract review seems to be the process. He's managing that in the database, and I would focus on that. Yeah, vendor details.
Okay, Avi, I'm back.
Okay, so so uh, so it seems like to me that the contract review database is the main one, right? That's the heart of it. Does that sound right? That's the
Uh,
main data on contracts. Is that right?
I would say the GCD contract status.
Okay, okay,
eh,
got it.
Yeah, there will be a similar one. There's one where it says GCD contract status.
Yeah, yeah, I see that. Yep, right here. Perfect. Okay, great. So yeah, so I'll say you're trying to do a little too much at the start. I mean, of course, you can bring it all in together, but you do that by step at a time. So I'll say maybe line up some of the questions that you're asking. So let's say, so what kind of questions you can ask? Maybe just contract volume, right? So volume, like how many? And of course, once you have a metric, a measure in Power BI, you can slice and dice it many different ways. So that is given. I don't need to specify it. So once you have the contract volume, we can say, okay, show me by vendor, show me by time, all of that stuff, right? And maybe you're asking which ones are compliant. You know, maybe, uh, uh, yeah. So got it. So one is the, let's look at the tables real quick again. So which are the tables you have? So I see GCD contract status and the contract database and so forth, right? So do vendor details. Yeah. So the approach is I zero in on what the process is, and then I connect to that using the lookup tables, the who, what, where, when, how. And I'll show you how you want things to end up in your model.
Okay.
Is so again, ignore the names here. So this is, let's say, process one. So process one, and then I have the who, what, where, when, how. It's connected to that. And that's what you would do for your contracts. And then you have another process, like, I don't know, like contract support or something like that, right? Something this can be totally different. You bring that in and you connect that to the who, what, where, when, how. And if you notice, by default, I don't want anything to be bidirectional. Bidirectional is an exception case, and everything in your model should be intentional. So if you're creating a bidirectional relationship, you should be able to answer me, why did you create the bidirectional relationship? Well, of course, I'm not going to be around, so you need to be able to answer yourself, saying, hey, I realize that single directional relationships is the default, but in this case, I'm using a bidirectional relationship because of ABC, right? Specify the reason. And these dotted lines are also an exception. I'm pulling this file from one of the course lessons, and it does talk about why is exception. So again, you shouldn't have any dotted lines unless you can explain it. You can like, hey, this is why. So I did see quite a few bidirectional relationships and so forth. I would so maybe you've already done this. So I'll start with one table and see what kind of information I can put there, right? So ignore the rest for now, hide them from report details, and see if you can build a structure like that. And then when you bring in an additional table like that, it works automatically. You don't have to do anything else. Like in this case, sales and budget, I just bring them in and they're both connected to the lookup tables, and I can slice and dice them together using those lookup tables, right? So this structure drives that, and you don't need fancy relationships. You need just a very simple structure of process, who, what, where, when, how. Yeah, I think that's the best I can guide right now, unless you have specific questions on this.
I
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm, I'm not sure the no, I'm saying the past 30 seconds to a minute, the audio is not quite clear. You're breaking quite a lot. I'm not sure whether it's from
Ah,
my side or not.
okay. Yeah, let's check on YouTube. Hey, so
Can you hear
YouTube
me?
folks, can you guys? Yeah, I can hear you, Lunga. But YouTube, am I coming? Is my audio working okay? Let
Hi,
us know.
Avi.
Yeah, Lunga, I can hear you loud and clear. Um, yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm struggling to hear you. Hi, Avi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. We can hear you loud and clear, and apparently others can hear me. So it might be something on your side. Hold on, let's see. Two. I'll send you a chat message. Lunga, we can hear you loud and clear, and others can seem to hear me. All right, cool. So I know sometimes when you're stuck here, it feels frustrating, and it feels like you're stuck in this web. I mean, looking at this model, and heck, I mean, this scares me because there are a bidirectional relationship here. It's not clear exactly what is a lookup table. Clearly, this one is a. So, guys, if you find yourself in this state, right, where it almost feels like, and believe me, I've been there, and I've seen others in that state. It's not a fun state where it feels like you're throwing darts in a dark room, right? Where, I mean, this one certainly seems like it, where he's just trying to hack something together. But yeah, when that happens, when you end up in that overwhelmed state, and I do as well, the key is to step back. So step back. I know it's counterintuitive. You feel like, oh, we're just gonna solve it, and yeah, I just want to solve it right now. And it doesn't help if you're working with a deadline, which I believe Lunga is. So it doesn't help, but the key is to step out. So and again, it's easier for me to give this advice to others than to follow it myself. But that's great. That's why you have the advantage of bouncing things off of me. I would just focus on a single table, and say who, what, where, when, how. So who is clearly the vendor? When is the calendar? Are there other entities? Maybe there are, maybe there aren't. And then I'll build simple metrics just on one thing. Just on one thing. Just see how far we can get. And often you can get very far. And then I say, oh, now there are a few questions that I cannot answer. And you list them out. Like, okay, well, these questions I cannot answer right now. I cannot answer how many resources are committed to the contract or something like that. And then you go, that belongs in this table. And you bring it in. And again, you do this plug and play. When you bring in another table, you have your lookup tables up top. And again, I mean, I always arrange things this way because that, to me, shows that you're designing the model with love. It's not by accident, it's by love and intent. You understand, and you created it intentionally this way, that these are my lookup tables. These are the who, what, where, when, how. So when you bring in something, you just connect it to the ones that apply. So if I can, let's say, bring in another process here, support calls, I can just see, well, which one does it apply to? Support calls do have the customer, great. They do have the product, great. They do have the calendar, like date of the call. They don't have the territory, so I'll just leave it, right? So it's plug and play. That's what this should feel like. All right, Lunga. So it looks like hopefully you were able to hear a little bit of that. So does that help?
As a starting point, I guess. As a starting point, I just feel overwhelmed. I feel
I
like
know.
I
I
understand
know.
that I must take a one bite at a time. But I mean, with the timelines that I have now, and to make matters worse, I mean, the whole of this week I was attending
Yes.
a leadership training, so I didn't I didn't do much this week, and going
Yeah.
back on Monday next week, a lot is gonna be expected. So I was hoping over this weekend I was gonna just do a lot of work and be able to produce something as well.
Yeah. So hey, you have two options, right? So one is that you got to be realistic, right? So it's Rome wasn't built in a day. So I strongly feel that it's better to scope it out. I do that all the time with my clients, and I'll share candidly, I'm much better working for my clients than when I build business models for myself. Then I'm a nightmare. I'm in the same place you are. So it's funny, right? I mean, you can help others better than you can help themselves. But when I'm working with them, so often we would do like these 2-day jump starts, 2 or 3 day jump starts, and we would go in with an idea, but more often than not, we cut things out because yeah, I mean, you don't know when you're stepping in, so it's better to have something be finished. That's what I love seeing, and I can attest to that's so much more powerful. Have something be a few things, right? So you want to start with a clean model. You don't want to start with a mess because, well, if it's messy now,
Yes, yes.
what's going to happen month and year from now? So, and I speak that from experience. So I built a model which I thought was for myself. I'm just going to run reports for my manager. And that same model grew and grew and was used by 600 plus users. Well, man, it was nightmarish because I had weird things in there which I should never have put in there. So you want it to be clean, but you want it to be kind of end to end. There shouldn't be like a missing piece, which is it kind of connects to data, the query editor. It has the model and the relationships and DAX and measures, and really simple, nothing complex. And then it has a report, and it's usable. Like you can show like, hey, here guys, you start using it, and then you iterate, right? So then you kind of iterate, and it's better to do that way. So that is one approach. If you do need to do more, I would say, and if you really have a compressed timeline, you might need to hire somebody because it's going to be yeah. So yeah, I mean, I do help my students as well. So if you're really pressed for time, I would say reduce the scope. That's going to help you big time, or get some help. All right. Okay. Well, if you do want to take the next step, I'll say, kind of focus on just one table for now. See how many questions you can answer using that. See if you can do the clean one step for that, right? Just focus on one table. And then list out the next most important question, or maybe 1 or 3, that's it, which cannot be answered by that one table. So you said the GCD contract status is the most important. So I'll start there. Build the who, what, where, when, how. You already have the vendor details. I suppose pretty much every model I've worked with has the date, the calendar. So connected to that, if there are any other entities which fall under that who, what, where, when, how, build that, connect that, and then see how much reporting can you do from there. And then when you get to the end of that line, say, hey, yep, I can't answer this question. Then think about what's the next table you bring in. All right, cool. All right, man. And I know it's hard, but step at a time,
Okay.
and
Thanks, Avi.
yeah, you'll definitely make it. Cool. Okay, that was a good one. Let's go on Facebook.
Great, man. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, Linda. Yeah. And again, welcome to the family, man. Radu saying all good.
Thanks.
All right. So Alan Jones is asking, silly question. What are you using for timing on the screen? I don't remember. What is it? It's called time left. That's what it's called. Okay. Anything else? Filter doesn't apply while export into PowerPoint from app. Suburaj is asking that question, and I haven't tried that in a while. So I need help from you folks, maybe on the phone or on YouTube. So what's the deal? What Suburaj is asking, is that accurate? Filter doesn't apply when you export to PowerPoint. Okay, I think somebody. Yeah, so Amy from our Learn Power BI family is saying filters don't apply. Last you checked. So let's see. Now I love hacky workarounds. I'm like, ooh, what else could you do? So let's see. Amy to the rescue again. Amy, you can also. So Amy's saying I built a nice customer report where you pick a client from a slicer and we can't export it by customer because the filter doesn't work when you export. Just curious, Amy, what is this scenario? Why? What are they trying to do? Are they just trying to export it and then? Oh, it seems like a customer report, so maybe somebody's heading out to meet with that customer and they're not going to have access to the live report, or they don't want to use it.
That's where I ran into it. We're an IT company, and so we have people who meet with like our clients to go over their ticket counts or their service details. Historically, we had SSRS, and they had a nice, handy paginated report to bring with them. And I, having fun with Power BI, I made them this awesome thing in Power BI, and told them they could just export it to PowerPoint and bring it with them, and then that didn't work at all. It would export the default client that I had last saved the report as.
That's no fun.
No.
Is there...
I will say, because I've been following all the recent updates, the new print to PDF feature that's on desktop but not in service yet does apply your filters.
Very interesting. Print to
Thank you for clarifying that, Amy, because I was just looking at that.
I'm very excited for it to get to service, but so we'll see.
Desktop does apply filters. Yeah, that's frustrating. All right, so Subu, I think that's the latest that we have. And Amy, thanks for the update. That's great. Let's see if there are any other questions on YouTube. Let me know. Let me scroll back. So guys, if you posted something in earlier and I missed it, just post it again. So Muhammad Amir had a question about setting up alerts in Power BI Desktop. I don't think that's possible in Power BI Desktop. It's only possible in PowerBI.com service, as far as I know. I suppose, what is that? Flow? I don't know what it's called. It's still called Power Flow. There might be other ways to do this using Power Flow. All right, cool. Let's check in on the phone then. I didn't see any. Oh, there we go. Okay, Karanjit has a question. Okay, so Karanjit, I'm not sure if I got your full question. It seems to have been chopped off. Oh, okay, there we go. Alright, I'm gonna grab that. Oh, the firewall error. Yes. I think we should be able to help you with that. 3415. Anybody else who's gotten this in Power Query, the query editor? All right, so I have a parameter date, which I'm using in source connection string. Okay, fair enough. Now I want to take a parameter value from a query. It is working for list of values, but for query it gives me some firewall error. It probably says something about cannot combine the data and so forth, you just have to restructure the query. So imagine if query 1, or let's say query A. So if query A is using query B and is also using a parameter, it's gonna, I think that's the scenario where it gives you an error. And the approach is to create, like, to separate those two. So currently try that. If anybody else has experienced this, C uses query A and B, right? So here query A was kind of pulling in query B and also a parameter, and it complains about the firewall thing. And you can just separate those two. So create a new query, which then uses essentially these two. Okay, cool. Let's go on the phone. See if anybody has any questions, thoughts, comments, updates. So we have Eric, Heather, Lunga is still on, Michael, and Steve. Okay.
Avi,
Yeah.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
This is Steve.
Hey there.
I have there was a file posted on Learn Power BI where someone had a question about how to take an Excel file and transform it in Power Query, and it was it was sort of a situation where you would create a column, fill down, that sort of thing. But it appears as though this person was in Great Britain and had a date format that was looked like it was day, month, year, I guess. Okay. And I just took a crack at at solving the problem, and of course I'm in the U.S. and when I did it, the date came in through your traditional American format, which is month, day, year. And I tried to I used the formatting, the locale in the query editor, and I selected English UK, but it didn't seem to make any difference in the file. It just didn't change. So I was curious as to, am I just misinterpreting what that does?
Okay, let's take a look. So if you have,
I did put a link to that particular file in the chat box. If you're interested in doing the real thing.
Yeah.
I actually put two links, so don't. It's the first one.
Got it.
So if you look at sheet, the second tab, sheet 1.
This is 2018 08/24. Steve, locale date.
So when you get to it, the second tab is the original file as was posted, and then the question was, how do I get the groupings in its own column with the dates and then the other two fields? As you can see in that it's set up in a European format, and I do have a query in there. If you go to the query editor, you'll see how it was transformed, and in spite of the fact of going in the date column in the query editor, and changing it to locale UK, when it brings a table back into the sheet there,
yeah,
it's not in that format.
I see what you're saying. Well, so let's see. So, where did you change the locale here?
Yeah, right there. If you right click on that and change the type, you could change it to date again. Like go down to change type.
It is date.
I know, but try it again though, just to humor me for a second.
Okay.
So change type.
Date, right?
Date. And down the bottom, using locale.
Using locale.
And if what you're going to see, it's going to come up with a value of text for some reason. And then, if you change that to date, change the locale to like English UK, and it gives you an example of what it's supposed to look like.
Ah.
But it just doesn't do it.
Well, but that's the data type. Where is UK? So so what you're asking it is to change the data type, which is how the number is stored. That has nothing to do with how it's displayed. Power Query or the query editor usually has little say into how it is displayed, right? So it is a query engine. It's gonna pull the data in, and the data type controls how it's stored. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So it's being
nothing to do with display.
Yeah, very little. I mean, obviously, if you change something to an integer, then you limit how many different ways it's stored or something like that. So
I mean, if I was in the UK looking at this in the query editor, would it look like they typically see it? Is it a setting on the machine somewhere, like?
Well, but even if it did look different, that is immaterial because this is not a reporting tool. This is not how the users would see it, right? Yeah. So maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't. I don't know. My guess would be it would. Yeah. But what's important is that we be able to control it on the reporting side, which right. So we could have done it different ways, right? So we could have typically you would load this back to a model. And on the model side, you do have some control on how it is displayed, right? So same with Power BI Desktop.
Okay.
Query Editor does its thing, pulls the data in, and that defines. So let's look at one of these fields, like this date field. So pretty much the only thing that Query Editor affects is this one. It has no control over this. And that is done on the model side. So now the model can say that, oh, I don't want to display it like this. I want to display it as a short date or something like that, right? And on this side, model side, of course, on a file-specific basis, I'm pretty sure Excel has a similar setting where I can go in options and change. So let's actually try this. So I have dates right now, and let me pull in calendar date. So the query editor decided how it's stored, and this one is deciding how it's displayed. So I changed it to 1/1/2014, and I can change that. I can say show me like that. So January 1, right? So I can change the display. If I go back to short date, and then I change the file setting and say I'm not in US anymore, then I expect it'll change the display there. So let's see. Current file, there we go, English. So if I go UK, shoot, I don't know. Why didn't that change anything? I expected that to change like, wait, yeah. I'm not sure. Why didn't it change that? I can't say. I'm lost there. Yeah, but yeah, the query editor can control has little control over the display over there.
All right. This is nothing that I was just curious because I'm sort of in an Excel mindset, you put, I want it to look like this, and it does. So you could probably change it there in the sheet. I imagine you could change it to a different form.
Yeah.
Just in the.
Yeah, this one you could. Yeah. So yeah. I mean, so yeah. Each kind of tool has its own set of how to control the data display and all that, and Excel has it here. I'm sure there are other ways to change lookout.
Okay.
I don't know where it is, but yeah. So that's
right,
different.
That's good. This is not I was stumped as to why it didn't change it in the query editor, but it's not a real world problem for me.
No, it's always kind of good to understand sometimes, and frankly, I'm puzzled now. I expected when I changed the settings here to UK that it would show date, month, year. I'm not sure why. Maybe we'll take a refresh or something. All right, cool. Thanks, Steve, for that. Let's see, what else do we have on YouTube, my friends? So Subaraj either has more on his question or has other questions. Let's see. Concatenate. Hey, love die you too. So love die you too had a quick comment about, I would column A and column B in French. When I concatenate these two columns, it does not translate. I'm not sure what that means. Like, concatenate is not working. It's giving you an error. Tell me more. Like, it does not translate, like a language translation. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Meanwhile, so give me more info on that. Let's look at Suburaj's question. And let's see what he's asking about. Raj. And so, unable to create a relationship between two tables due to duplicates. Yes, that would be true. First table has actual. It's working fine. Got it. But I've added country in second table. Well, so what you're trying to do, Subaraj, it seems like, is that you're trying to connect two data tables. And I can't think of a single scenario where you would do that. So you have sales or actuals in one table, and in my case it says budget, but think of that as goals. And you always connect data tables, right, using lookup tables. So yeah, I mean, so guys, I mean, Power BI, if you swim upstream, if you swim against the flow, you'll feel like you're always struggling. Well, the answer is to swim downstream. Use it the way it's supposed to be used, and everything is going to be easy. Feel easy. Why not, right? So, yeah, you structure it using it. Again, go watch my modeling tutorials on my channel, Power BI Pro. Look at the modeling playlist. Right up top, this guy, data modeling in Power BI. And of course, that's woven into my course throughout. So yeah, you don't connect these two. You have the data table, and then you connect those together using the lookup table. So Subaraj, try that, and yeah, I'm pretty certain that would work out. So what you need is to create a lookup table. In this case, I have territory. Maybe yours is simpler. It's just country, and then connect that to both, and then you can drive them together. All right, cool. Let's circle back to the phone, and let's see if anybody has any questions. So yeah, folks, if you type something in the chat window, sometimes I miss it. I'm sometimes looking at the YouTube chat. So if you type something and I didn't see it, just speak up.
Hi, Avi. Lunga here again.
Hi there.
No. I was just typing that when we were discussing you, I could see that you were just writing some notes just to guide me. So if you can send me those kind of notes so that I can refer to them.
Absolutely. Will do. Okay, let's go back to YouTube. Let's see if there are any other new questions. Otherwise, we'll call it a day. Okay, I don't see anything new. Let's just do a yeah. Go ahead, Lunga.
So what's the best way of if I need to just communicate with you and then I just need some advice right there?
So you know, I can't promise that I can make myself always available on like an immediate notice, but typically, there are students in the program and there are like 5 different ways they have access to help. The first thing that I say is, right, there's the Facebook group and all of that stuff, right? But if somebody is like, no, I don't want that, Avi, I want to work with you, then they either work with me on an hourly basis, and it lets you book time with me, and based on my availability, sometimes you can book it the same day, next day, sometimes not if I'm like traveling or something like that. Or we work on a project basis, and frankly, I enjoy that more. Because hourly sometimes becomes like a hit and run where, you know, they talk to me and then they go back and then they come back, and sometimes I find that they have taken a step backward, but that's okay. That works too. But I love working project-based where we say we're going to build something for you. And yeah, that's pretty intense. So those are the 2 modes that I work in one-on-one.
So just explain more what the project base entails.
The project. Oh yeah, sure. So the project. So I'll say it has the idea of the project is to what I was talking about here is to build something that runs, right? So so I work in 2 modes. When I work on site, and of course in your case it wouldn't be possible, but the idea is the same. The idea and the goal is the same. So when I work on site, I would travel somewhere for like 2 to 3 days. We would sit together in the same conference room, and yeah, we would just power through that. Those are usually pretty long days, and whoever the person is sitting there, as I'm working through it, I always think out loud. I'm always talking about what I'm doing right now, and not just that, why I'm doing it, because my goal is that the person who's sitting with me in that room, by the end of the project, they're as much of an expert at it as me, you know, because I really, frankly, my success is that if they don't come back and, you know, kind of, hey, Avi, why did you do this? You know, right. So, and as we're going through the same cycle, pull data, define relationships, define measures, build some reports. And I like doing that as quick as we can. And often you can do 3 or 4 cycles of that in 2 or 3 days, and refine it. And again, we cut the scope as needed. I mean, if we came in saying, oh, we're going to do this, and this, and they say, no, guys, it's not going to be possible. I would rather have something which is like up and running. So that's a 2-day model, 2 or 3 day on-site. Remote, I've realized that it's really hard. It's really hard on everybody to try to run it like a really long day, because, you know, online you don't get that connection. So we break it up. Instead of spending like 8-9 hours on an online call, which it just is exhausting for everybody, we break it up, and we meet like a few hours a day, and sometimes we break it up in like to spread across 3 weeks, sometimes spread across 6 weeks. It depends on kind of what the project is. So the remote is the same goal, same intent, same process pretty much, but the timeline is a little bit different.
All right. So you're more of a hands-on approach. So you take me through it, but I'm also doing it so that I know how it's done and everything like that.
Yeah. So I'll be driving, like I'll be kind of controlling it, but I'll be speaking all the time, And of course, the other person can, whoever is involved there. Sometimes it's just one people. Sometimes there are multiple. They can always kind of ask me like, "Oh, tell me more about that," and something. And yeah, so we have this phrase in our line of work when we're training, we're also consulting, which you've seen. I mean, I help people and students in my class with their specific problems. But when we're consulting, we're also training. So yeah, that kind of goes hand in hand.
All right, let me commit now to say I need this intervention, but I'm sure outside of this you can be able to provide me with the details as to what is it that I have to do and the cost and everything else that goes with it.
So tell me, what time is it over there right now? What time?
Now it's around about. It's around about 7 minutes to 10.
Oh, well, it's pretty late. So I'll say here.
10 in the evening.
I didn't see any questions on the call. So maybe let me wind up. And have you sent me your phone number? I think you have. Yes, I have your number, and I'll try to call you if that's still okay. I know it's late.
Is it 07? It's great. No. I have all the time in the world. I have all the time in the world. Don't worry about that.
The +27 number, right?
Yeah.
That's the. Yeah, I think I saw it.
+27 number. Yeah.
Got it. Awesome, man. All right, so let me wind up here, and then I'll get in touch with you, see how I can best help you. All right, cool. We'll get you home. All right.
Nope.
All right, take care.
Great stuff. Thanks, eh?
Absolutely. All right, guys. So, Asif says hello from Pakistan. So, hey, we're just winding up here. Let's just take one last question. So maybe two. So I see Excel Basement is on. Hello, my friend. So let's go on the phone real quick. On the phone, if you have any questions, just speak up. Okay. Then let's go here. Oops, that's weird. Let's take let's take this question, and we'll make Suburaj's question the last one. So Excel Basement is asking, learn Power BI from basic to advanced. Many online courses available. Where do you go? All right. So yeah, that's true. There are many online courses available. So I'll tell you my approach, and then you can plug in a different course in there. It still works. So my approach, and the approach that I would recommend is this. So I always say that Power BI is agile BI, right? It's not that old school, we're going to take 6 months or 1 year, spend $2 million to work on a BI project. Those days are gone, my friend, right? As I was talking about Lunga here, I love kind of parachuting down to my clients, and 2 to 3 days we build something, and usually it blows their socks off. I mean, I've had where on the third day they started clapping, and I'm like, "Why the heck are you guys clapping?" And they said, "Avi, you don't realize we've been trying to build this for 1 year." So that's Power BI. It's agile BI. But then I ask you, why the heck shouldn't we learn it the same way? Right? So what would agile learning look like? I mean, it would be the cycle, and sometimes it goes something like this. So step one is you're going to learn it, and that does need a course. I'll talk about that. And then, of course, you need to use it, through the course examples. Hopefully it does have download files, which, at least my course does. Most courses do. But then with your own data, right? So with course files, but then again, most important, with your own data. That's where the real learning is. But then when you do it, you are gonna hit walls. This is the break it part, where it feels broken, where you're frustrated. You're like, oh my gosh, I saw it in the course. It worked for them. I know my data is slightly different, but I can't get it to work. My formula doesn't work. The query editor doesn't work, or I just have no idea how to do it with my data set. And that's where I wanted to provide help to kind of my audience, where if somebody helps you over that roadblock, that's when the real learning is, right? That's when it really accelerates your learning. So in my course, I do that through our very own Facebook group, right? So this is our Learn Power BI, and you get help not just from me, but from everybody else. There's good interaction there, good community, and this is different than a random community on the internet, because guess what? This is not a random community. For one, all of them have gone through my course, so they speak like that. They kind of speak the same language. You're not going to get some random piece of advice here. And another one, I mean, frankly, I have attracted kind of a specific set of audience, specific type of people, so more likely you'll find more connections here, right? So that's one. And then of course I do other things on YouTube. We also have a class call where it's just students are there. I'm not on YouTube anymore. That we do on Thursdays. So that's where I think so that's the process. So, and again, you go through it in cycles. This is not, you take 3 months to complete the course and then you go apply it. That's the biggest BS. And while if you're my student and doing that, I would say don't do it. And I know some students are like, oh no, I just want to go through the course first, and I don't want to ask questions that look silly if it's already covered in the course. I'm like, I don't care. If you're especially applying it on your own data set and you get stuck, just go ahead and ask it in the Facebook group, right? So let's come back to the learn it, the course part. I mean, the way I see it, the course gives you that 20% that gives you the 80% of the results. At least that's the way I built my course. It's focused on those key concepts which give you 80% of the results. And if you look at my course, in Power BI, the fundamentals is where it's at. It's what's under the hood. A lot of people get distracted by just the visuals, but once you dive into it, you pretty quickly realize that that's not where the real strength is. It's in the query editor, understanding relationships, understanding DAX, and sure, once you have done all that, then the visuals comes easy. And then of course I also talk about the PowerBI.com platform. So that's the course, and after that, the rest of the journey is through that, through by you applying it, and if you start hitting walls, that's a good thing. That's a good sign. That means you're really using it. But then, of course, hopefully you would have options to get help. And in our course, we have the student Facebook group, calls with me. So that's the combination. So, and yeah, that's, you repeat it. And every time you repeat that cycle, you're going to get better and better, basic to advanced. Okay, cool. Let's do the next one. So Subaraj is asking... And guys, we'll make this the last questions about masking. I'm not sure. So masking, show German students name in German, something like that. So I'm gonna make some assumptions here, and maybe they would work with your data. Maybe I would be way off. Let's see. Okay, so let's say that you have in your student table, you have the student ID. Oops, not if. Student ID, and then you have student ID, and then you have their English name. And then you have their German name. Maybe there are other students there as well. I don't know. French name. And then... this is interesting. What is their, I don't know, nationality or something like that? Language preference. So I would say, I was earlier thinking this is going to be a measure. So guys, there are two big engines in Power BI. One is the query editor, the M engine. Fair enough, right? That is the kitchen of Power BI that you use to clean, shape, transform data, pull it in. And then the next engine is the DAX engine. This is where you define relationships, you define your DAX measures and all that. Don't do calculated columns, okay? So earlier I was thinking this is a DAX thing, but now I feel like now that I've laid it out, I think this belongs on the M side. So you would say something like this: display name, and that would be a custom column used in the query editor. All right, in the query editor. Don't use a calculated column in DAX. So if it is I don't know, and then this would say if they are he can't really have an English nationality, but stay with me here. So here you can say, hey, if the nationality is English, then use this name. If it is French, then use this name. If it is German, then use this name, and so forth. And then the display name will always be the right one. All right, Suraj, so hopefully that helps. I'm going to sign off now, guys, but yeah, we'll be back on next Friday, same time, I think. Unless we're skipping it, then we're going to be back the Friday after that. And of course, if you're in my class, I'll see you inside the Facebook group or on our student Q&A call. All right, my friends, until next time, power on.